If you don't pray in tongues, you don't exercise yourself in faith, you don't study the word of God, you don't even get to build the spiritual muscles required to handle the avalanche of blessing that you are believing God for. So what do? You pray to have spiritual muscles and capacity. Capacity is important. When Jesus told us about the parable of talents, the master, when he was going away, he gave everyone talent according to their capacity. So it wasn't because the master loved the man with the 5 talents more than he loved the man with the 1 talent. It was according to his capacity. You will be loved according to your capacity. You will receive things according to your capacity. You will be given things according to your capacity. So your blessing is a question of capacity. And then another way to describe capacity in the realm of the spirit is spiritual maturity. So your life, your blessedness is at the mercy. Even your material blessing is at the mercy of your spiritual capacity and spiritual maturity. So how mature are you spiritually? There are many ways to look at the topic of spiritual maturity. But one of the ways I want us to look at it today is the ability of a man to exercise his sense for the discernment and distinguishing between good and evil. A man is not spiritually mature until he is able to distinguish between what is good and what is evil. In certain areas, what is good and what is evil, they are clear cuts. In certain areas, they are not clear cut. In certain areas, the differences are not so clear. There are gray areas. And again, you see, when you are distinguishing between what is good and what is evil, it is easy. But when you are having to differentiate between what is good and what is not God, that is more difficult. Because something can be good and not God. Everything that God does is good, but everything that is good is not God. The devil also gives apples, but those apples have worms. So how do you distinguish between the apple that God gives and the one that the devil gives without biting first? Because sometimes before you discover that an apple has worms, you have to first bite. So how would you know if they say pick one apple? One given by God, one given by the devil, one has worms, one doesn't have worms. They are both good. So how do you distinguish between one that is good and not God, or one that is good and not God, and one that is good and God? You must have your senses exercised. That's what the writer of Hebrew is saying here. He's saying that solid food belongs to those who have their senses exercised. One of the ways by which you measure spiritual maturity is by how exercised your senses are, to distinguish between what is good and what is evil.